The world's biggest single-piece television, an OLED TV that's thinner than my appendage, a mini-LED TV that promises to outperform RGB mini-LED TV. These are just some of the TVs vying for our Best TV of CES 2026 award. Our coverage of this year's event started, as always, with LG, who unveiled its flagship OLED TV in the form of the G6 series, featuring the latest primary RGB Tandem 2.0 4-stack WOLED panel from LG Display, even better anti-glare treatment to achieve the world's lowest reflectance of 0.3%, as well as an upgraded chipset called Alpha 11 AI Processor Gen 3 with enhanced 12-bit color processing. One rung down, the LG C series, which has been the best-selling OLED TV in the world since its debut, finally received some long overdue upgrades for 2026, although there's still a sizable catch, pun intended. You see, the 77 and 83-inch C6 or C6H will get the more advanced 4-stack WOLED panel with primary RGB tandem technology, so their HDR peak brightness and WCG color reproduction should be very similar to last year's flagship G5. Furthermore, all screen sizes of the LG C6 will be equipped with the most advanced Alpha 11 Gen 3 processor, which hopefully will significantly improve native 10-bit gradation when displaying HDR content, a relative weakness of LG OLEDs until now, particularly in Game Optimizer mode where the smooth gradation decontouring filter could be grayed out. Also making an appearance at LG's CES booth were wafer-thin wallpaper OLED TVs, amounting to arguably the greatest comeback in the AV world since vinyl. Aside from its new OLED range, LG also introduced its first ever LCD TVs featuring RGB LED backlighting. The flagship MRGB 95 series will be marketed under the MicroRGB AI Evo branding, whereas the step-down MRGB 9M and MRGB 85 models are labeled Mini RGB AI Evo. I will be covering these RGB backlit LED LCD TVs in a separate video, so I won't go into too much detail here. Interestingly, another brand embracing the Evo suffix is Hisense, whose flagship 116 UXS model is officially marketed as RGB Mini LED Evo. What sets it apart from other RGB Mini LED TVs is the inclusion of a fourth subpixel, namely cyan, in addition to the standard red, green and blue. Available in just one colossal screen size of 116 inches at the time of CES, the Hisense UXS uses the cyan element to not only widen the color gamut, but also more accurately render challenging tones such as turquoise waters and teal shadows often found in stylized color grades. For regular consumers who may not have the space or budget for the 116 UXS, Hisense will also release more accessible RGB Mini LED models under the UR9 and UR8 series, ranging from 55 all the way up to 100 inches. Both models are powered by the MediaTek Pentonic 800 chipset, enabling 4 high-bandwidth connections and support for Dolby Vision 2 via a future firmware update. Like last year's U8Q, the higher-tier UR9 provides a USB-C DisplayPort input, which reduces the number of HDMI 2.1 ports to 3. In contrast, the step-down UR8 model will offer 4 HDMI 2.1 ports instead. Now, while the Hisense 116UX previously held the title of the world's largest single-piece television, that crown has since been claimed by Samsung's newly unveiled 130-inch MicroRGB TV showcased at CES 2026. The glass for this massive panel was almost certainly sourced from TCL CSOT, to our knowledge, currently the only panel manufacturer capable of producing LCD sheets at this size. Nevertheless, Samsung still needs to develop and implement its own proprietary backlight control system, which is a testament to the South Korean giant's technical engineering prowess when no other TV brand, not even TCL, has announced a television of the same screen size. While a couple of conceptual designs were shown for the impressive 130-inch display, no pricing or availability details were disclosed at the time of publication. But for those of you interested in a Samsung MicroRGB TV, The company is expanding its lineup from last year with the new R95H and R85H series, starting from 55 inches all the way up to 115 inches, plus the monster 130-inch R95H, of course. Despite the microRGB branding, both Samsung's and LG's implementations are still transmissive LCD displays using RGB LED backlights with local dimming, rather than true emissive technologies. So for those of you who prefer emissive displays where every pixel can be turned on and off independently of each other, Samsung has also announced its new 2026 range of OLED TVs, spearheaded by the flagship S95H, whose design is best described as polarizing. To create a floating aesthetic, the OLED panel is mounted in front of a metal frame which is almost as shiny as this pair of glasses. I've received plenty of compliments wearing these, so perhaps the same will apply to the TV too. To clarify, the metal frame cannot be removed from the back of the screen, though during a pre-CES hands-on session in Korea, Samsung demonstrated that the side bezels are magnetically attached and can be swapped out for different color options, which will be sold separately. It's clear from the picture frame design that the Samsung S95H is primarily intended for wall mounting. However, if you wish to go for a tabletop setup, the TV can be installed using a pair of feet positioned near both ends of the screen, though this approach is noticeably less elegant and detracts from the intended aesthetic. Unlike its predecessors, the S95C, S95D, and S95F, the Samsung S95H no longer ships with a One Connect box by default. Instead, all 4 HDMI 2.1 ports are integrated directly into the chassis, which could potentially unlock full 48 gigabits per second bandwidth per input, compared to the 40 gigabits per second limitation previously imposed by the One Connect box. Interestingly, to accommodate users who desire a clean cable management to go with the picture frame styling, Samsung is offering an optional accessory kit comprising a wireless One Connect box and a transmitter module. If used together, this could theoretically provide up to 8 HDMI 2.1 ports, more than sufficient for even the most AV-intensive home theater setups. Having previously received this information under NDA during a Korea briefing last year, I once again confirmed with Samsung engineers that the S95H can reach an HDR peak brightness of 2700 nits on a 10% window and 435 nits full screen at D65 white point, up from 2000 nits and 390 nits on last year's S95F. The 55, 65 and 77-inch variants of the S95H will continue to use QD OLED panels, whereas the largest 83-inch and the newly introduced 48-inch model will employ WOLED panels, because Samsung Display currently doesn't manufacture QD OLED in these two sizes. The 48-inch version will be positioned as a large format gaming monitor and so will ship with a central tabletop stand without the metal frame design, although it is not expected to hit the same peak brightness levels as the larger models due to its lower pixel aperture ratio. Elsewhere in the lineup, the step-down S90H OLED will adopt Samsung's matte glare-free screen treatment, a shift away from the glossy finish seen on last year's S90F. On to TCL, who went to great lengths to explain and demonstrate why the company positioned its flagship X11L SQD or Super Quantum Dot Mini-LED TV above its new RM9L or C9L RGB Mini-LED TVs, citing reasons such as more local dimming zones, higher peak brightness, no color crosstalk, and thinner chassis, among others. At the heart of TCL's confidence in its SQD Mini-LED TV is further optimization of the underlying quantum dot material, contributing to narrower emission peaks for improved spectral purity and an even wider color gamut. Reassuringly, the only major difference between the X11L and the RM9L or C9L lies in the backlight system. Both LED LCD TVs will share an upgraded WHVA 2.0 VA-type LCD panel with a higher native contrast ratio of 7000:1, improved color filter to achieve expanded color gamut coverage, wider viewing angles with reduced off-axis degradation, as well as a glossy front finish with lower reflectance. Add in a MediaTek Pantonic 800 SoC that provides 4 HDMI 2.1 ports and future Dolby Vision 2 support following a firmware update, and the TCL X11L is shaping up to be one of the most highly anticipated LED LCD-based TVs to hit the market this year, depending on what Sony announces in a few months' time. Although the TCL is likely to remain highly competitive on price courtesy of its vertically integrated manufacturing approach. So, which TV impressed me the most at CES 2026? The 130-inch Samsung R95H MicroRGB TV came remarkably close, mostly on the strength of its sheer scale. But at the end of the day, it is still a transmissive backlight-driven technology, and in my view, LG has truly knocked it out of the park with the new W6 Wallpaper OLED TV. In terms of picture quality, it's got the highest tier hyper-radiant color technology comprising the Brightest Primary RGB Tandem 2.0 4-stack WOLED panel from LG Display, an improved anti-glare coating with the lowest reflectance on the market, and the company's new Alpha 11 Gen 3 processor, whose enhanced 12-bit color processing should hopefully result in some of the smoothest native 10-bit gradation we'll see this year. Design-wise, it is an engineering marvel too. Corrugated side bezels improve both structural rigidity and thermal dissipation, despite the panel measuring just 9.9mm thin. It ships with an updated wireless Zero Connect Box 2.0, now 35% smaller and capable of supporting 4K 165Hz HDR VRR gameplay. And for ease of installation, LG has introduced a new wall mount bracket that uses gravity and weight-assisted locking for a cleaner flush-mounted finish. Taking everything into account, picture quality, design and innovation, the LG OLED Evo W6 Wallpaper TV is my pick for the best TV of CES 2026. If you're interested in buying this TV, please support this channel by strongly considering buying it from our friends at Richer Sounds, a trusted British AV retailer with more than 50 stores in the UK, who provides 6 years warranty on the vast majority of TVs if you join the company's VIP club. You'll get the best deals through cheaper VIP exclusive in-store only prices, complimentary gifts or freebies, so go visit your local Richer Sounds store or call telesales for your next TV purchase. Thanks again for your support. Okay, Panasonic and Sony did not showcase any new TVs at CES 2026, opting instead to hold their own dedicated media events in the coming months. Interestingly, neither brand was listed by Dolby as a TV partner for Dolby Vision 2, a list that did include TV Vision aka Philips TV, thanks to the adoption of the MediaTek Pantonic 800 chipset in its upcoming models. Now, while Dolby Vision 2 does bring some HDR-related improvements, one of its most compelling features actually lies in a completely different area of image quality. To find out what it is, you can watch my dedicated explainer video by clicking here.